Good afternoon. Welcome to the February UQRUG. I think this is UQRUG number 47. For those who don't know, UQRUG is a gathering for R users. It's the R user group. We're here to help each other solve problems, share interesting things that we've come across in R, and also just to hang out. So like if you want to sit in the background and do some coding while we talk about R stuff, that's totally fine. You don't have to pay attention, but you're welcome to as well. As you're probably aware, we meet the last Wednesday of every month, and we meet hybrid, as you can see here. We do have a website, uqrug.netlify.app. This is a R-generated website, so if you do want to learn how to do that, in one of our past events, we did an overview about how to make websites in this, and you can find all of that on the events page, where it has details about everything that we've done in the past. So we're not just a drop-in help session, we also do an overview at the start of each session. And as you can see, this month's is going to be having a look at web scraping. So to get started this month, what I'll get you to do is if you navigate to the UQRUG website and then click on this button up in the top right-hand corner, that will take you through to the Hedge doc. Now, we use the Hedge doc as a collaborative pad where people can go in and edit, add questions, answer questions. It just makes a hybrid experience a little bit neater. That way people online can ask questions without interrupting and people can give answers without interrupting it. Generally makes it flow a bit neater. So on this page, what you can do is you can go in and edit, but I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So the broad ways of working is we have everyone go to this page to add their names here. Then we get people who have questions to add their questions onto the page. We do an intro to an R package. And once that's done, you know, there might be some questions related to the R package, but then we'll jump into the drop-in based questions that people have brought along today. Yes, it is number 47, that's right. So to add your names and your questions to this page, navigate through the UQRUG website, click on the little blue pencil up in the top right-hand corner, and that will then allow you to start editing the document. So this, for those who don't know, is using Markdown, which is a form of markup language, but very simplified. You add styles by using things like hashes. So you can see this top level title is made by 1 hash, and this 4th level title is by putting 4 hashes. 2 asterisks will make something bold, a single asterisk, and then a space will add some dot points. So if you come through to here and then scroll down to the table here, you can see that Pradeepa has already added their name to the list. So this is a markdown table. It is not the prettiest thing in the world. It, in my opinion, is a bit of an ugly back end, but it works. And so that's good for today. So what I'll get you to do is scroll down to this section and then put your name, where you're from, and what you're doing here into between some of these things. So as you go in, you might see other people hovering and clicking. It's all right. Just work around each other. It's fine. There we go. You can see Andy started adding the name there. So it's Jeffrey. I'll get everyone in person and online to do this at the same time. Well, you got a feel for you know what the attendance is like. And if we do run out of spaces, which we are, you simply add a new line and add those 4 bars. So that's shift backslash on my keyboard, at least the one above the enter. And that you can see that's added an extra thing there. Awesome. So we've got, I love it when it's quite a, actually, you know, I think it's a pretty clear line. We've got some people from the computer science and some people from agricultural sciences, and then Ryan from economics. Cool. We do seem to get a lot of ag science people. It's good. Whether that's coffee or SAPS or wherever you're from. All right. So once you've put your name in there, go down to the question section. We can see that Andy has already started putting a question in here, which is awesome to see. If you do have a question, just go down to the next section and add your thing in there. So Pradeepa, if you want to add your question into here as well. That way, if someone doesn't want to listen to my spiel about web scraping, they can answer your question.
Yeah.
So yeah, pop your name in there, pop in your question, and then add more information. So just an overview of the question there, and then that information in there. So if someone does want to start trying to answer Andy's question, feel free to do so. You can just start adding your answer in here. Yeah, And you can see there's plenty of space. If we do run out of question time, we'll add another one in. Now you can also see we've got a list of the previous packages that we've run in the past. So the previous overviews. You can see there's the one, if you want to build your own R-based website, it's the Quarto one there. Cool. Now, these questions, again, if we use these to kind of, we put the questions that you ask and the answers that we put onto the UQRUG website as well. So we can see all of the past meeting notes on the UQRUG website. And it means that we've got like a repository of questions and answers that people have asked that are really specific to our area. So if you do have a question or you want to explore other questions people have asked, you can go through our big backlog there, or you can use the search tool up the top here and search for something. So if you're wanting help with bioinformatics, there we go. In RUG 8, 20, and 35, people ask questions about bioinformatics. Cool. All right, so that's sort of the broad overview out of the way. I can see some more people have been joining in, which is good to see. But as promised, we'll jump into the intro to an R package. People do have questions during that time, let me know. And something I want to put out there before I get started, if anyone does want to give an overview of anything, please shout out. Like, even if you're not an expert in it and it's just something you're wanting to learn or just started learning, I'm really keen for people in the community to share what they've got to show. It doesn't have to be relevant to everybody because learning more about R helps you do the R you need to do. Jess is finding the hedgehog glitchy. Oh yeah, I can see that you're legit. Yeah. I'm not sure. Might be on your end. I don't know. Oh, we know why you're here. It's not JJE? Okay. But if you do have a question, throw it in the chat and I can throw it in here as well. Excellent. So I'll jump in and do the rvest overview. But as I was saying, yeah, if you want to come in and give a talk about something, I'm more than happy for you to do so. It's a really good opportunity to kind of test yourself and do that. And I'm happy to work with you on creating a presentation and working on your code to make it presentable for here. As you'll see, it doesn't have to be perfect. And when I say as you'll see the code that I'm about to share, and it's definitely not perfect and needs a lot of work. But you know, hopefully it shows you some of the extra things that you can do in R that you may not have thought of, or maybe you'll think of better ways to do the same thing that I've done, because there's definitely better ways. So the promise that I put forth is that I was going to show some of the basics of scraping data from Google and from Wikipedia using the rvest package. Now, I made a bit of a false promise there. Google is actually quite hard to scrape data from. It used to be easier, and old code that I'd used in the past doesn't work anymore. So I'm going to show some alternative things instead. I'm going to stop sharing on the main screen and I'm going to go to my laptop. All right, so today we're going to be having a look at using rvest. I have so many things from Zoom on my screen, it's hard to see anything at all. Okay, so rvest is a package within the tidyverse that allows you to scrape data from the web. So if I go to I just Google rvest, we can see this top result here is part of the tidyverse. So this is one of Hadley Wickham's many different packages that he is the author and maintainer of, and rvest is part of the tidyverse. So for those who know, or those who don't know, I guess, the tidyverse is a series of packages that all talk really neatly with each other, and so rvest plugs in quite nicely with the rest. So I guess rvest is like a slight R pun on harvest, is what they're going for there. You harvest data. And it's fairly straightforward. So you can, if you load the tidyverse, rvest will be loaded as well, or you can just load rvest by itself. And the way that it works is it allows you to read in a HTML page from the web and then pick it apart to get things out of it. So I'm going to go to my code in RStudio and talk about web scraping here. For those online, is that big enough? Do you need me to zoom in, or are you happy with the size of that text?
Yeah, I can read.
Good size, excellent.
Yep, I could read it.
So I'll share this code at the end. I'll put it on the web on the user group website, but for now it's just on my computer, but I will share it later. So the libraries I'm using today are, well, rvest really, but you can load it with just using tidyverse. I think I ended up using the XML package just to do some extra fiddling, but it's not necessary. So I'm just going to go ahead and load tidyverse. I don't need to load rvest because you'll see that it's part of those packages that get loaded anyway. All right, so the way that it works is it will draw down a website. So if you are not familiar with HTML code, this is sort of a broad example of what it can look like. So you've got a HTML tag, and then you have a series of other tags that contain things. So head is where you put things related to the headers and metadata of a website, and body is where you'll put the kind of normal structure of the actual website. Then you've got different tags that do different things. So H1 is a heading 1, so this would be a heading. You can attach IDs and classes to these tags, and that basically means that you can put styles on it that match anything that has the ID of first will be given the first style that you can name elsewhere. You can add a P tag, and that's a paragraph tag that has some text in it. You can make text bold by using a B tag. You can use divs, which I think stands for dividers, and that's a very common way of kind of sectioning up a website. And then you can use things like image tags, and that will, of course, put in an image, and it has an attribute attached to it called source, and that's where you can put the source of the image, and that will create an image. A lot of tags also have a closing tag, so this div has an opening and a closing, whereas this image tag doesn't necessarily need that. So that's a really, like, if you, hopefully for those who've never done any HTML coding before, that means something to you. Let me know if that needs explaining again or anything like that. But those are some very, very, very basic bits and pieces. And what we can do is we can use this to, if we downloaded a website that looked like this, and we wanted to extract out all of the text that's in paragraph tags, we could say, give me everything that's inside a P tag and extract that out of the website. We could say, oh, we just want all the headings, so give me everything that's inside a H1 tag, and we could pull all that from the website. And that's what rvest allows us to do. Now, in the early days of the web, every website looked kind of that very basic structure. But these days, there's other languages going on. There's more complex things. There's like lazy load things that doesn't immediately load into the website. You know, you go to a site and it gradually loads the thing. If we extract it this way, we're not going to get everything. So there are workarounds you need to do, and that was part of the difficulty I had scraping things from Google. But for the most part, this sort of principle still follows. So the basic rvest tutorial uses some Star Wars data, of course, and it pulls it down from this website here. So I'm going to navigate to this site now. So this is what this website looks like. It's got a bunch of Star Wars films, details about it, and it's just got each of those films there. Now you'll notice that each of the films is like a title looking thing. So it's got some sort of heading tag attached to it. Go back to the tutorial. What we do is we use the read_html function here. Interesting. Maybe I haven't updated my version of the tidyverse to actually include rvest, so I'm going to load rvest in as well. That's curious. Anyway, rvest wasn't loaded, so I'll load it again. Okay, so we use the read_html function here, which reads HTML. It's nice and straightforward. And that gives us this thing here, which is an XML file. So it's kind of like a list of all these different things. It's a little bit hard to probe into, like it's not like a neat little data frame. It's a little bit more complicated. You've probably potentially come across those sorts of things before. But what we can do is we can use functions like this HTML elements function to say, look at the elements. So like, you know, the different div tags, all sorts of things. In this case, we're saying, give me everything that's inside the section tag. And so that's how the different films are spaced apart. So if we run this line here, it will take our read HTML output and then put it into the HTML elements and just give us the sections. So if I run that, and then we look at the films output, we can see that what it's given us are the different section tags that each contain each of our different films. Now, looking at this output, each of these sections then has a H2 tag inside of it. So we can see we've got H2, heading level 2, and we've got things like Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and each of these also has a data ID attached to it as well. So what we can do is we can pull out the title by saying, give me all of the HTML elements that have H2, and then turn that into regular text. So I'll show you what that looks like when I don't use the HTML text function. So I like piping, gives us those different bits, and it will give us just the H2 tags. So here we have the section tags, and now it's given us just things inside H2. But when we run this in its full, including the HTML text function there, it turns it from this sort of XML file into standard text. So it strips away all of the HTML text and gives us nice clean text. Now, another thing that we can do is use this HTML attr function, so HTML attribute. So before, when we pulled it out with concluding the HTML tags in the background, you can see it's got like ID. So this is an attribute. So what we can do is we can say from films, get just the H2 elements, but then from those H2 elements, just give us the metadata of the HTML attribute, and then using readr parse that into an integer because all of these are numbers. So if we don't do that last part, let's see what that looks like. Control Enter. And again, just to reinforce, this is another advantage of using pipes. You can really easily run bits of the code instead of running the whole chunk at once. Helps you kind of parse it out a bit better. We run that, it gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all of the different episodes. But if we run the whole thing, it gives us the episodes as numbers. So that's all that parse integer is turning it from a character into a number. So that's the tutorial that's built into rvest. Hopefully you can see the kind of the very basics of how you would use that to pull things out. As you can see, I've got a more specific example that I'm going to go into, but before I jump into that, I'm going to run through that somewhat quickly because I don't want to take up too much time at the start here. But I do want to show a more real example because, you know, as much as we've been able to pull things out of this, this is a very simple website. It's not as it's clean, it's set up for harvesting. It's not as messy as reality can be. So before I jump into that, does anyone have any questions about things that I've covered so far? Anything that you wanted me to go over there?
Can we do this for content analysis?
Content analysis?
Yeah.
As in like...
Not like headings, but within paragraphs, can we find things?
Yeah. So that's where it's just drilling down to the specific thing that you're wanting to pull out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll take that as a good segue to move on to something where I'm going to pull out content.
Yeah.
So this specific example, I decided to, it was like in a conversation, that this was the example that I came up with, was a list of English monarchs from Wikipedia. So Wikipedia is actually fair, well, depends on the web, it depends on the page, but because they've got such specific structures in Wikipedia, it can be fairly easy to scrape things from it, but it can also be messy sometimes too. So this is a list of English monarchs. It's got details about it. You could pull this entire website down using the read HTML, and that's what we will do. But we can see that there's things like these tables. So this is structured content. So it means that we can pull out structured content from here, which is nice. So we can pull out names and dates of birth. Still not super clean, but what we can do is we can use this to pull stuff out. So if I go back to my code, I'm going to run this. So we now have that Wikipedia page pulled down. We've got it now. And what we can do is use the HTML element. So this is a class. So that .wiki table is saying the class wiki table. There's an ID. And if I run that, what it does is it pulls out just the tables in the document. So if we look at that now, actually, if I run all of tables, not just number one, we can see it's pulled out all of the tables that are on that page. And now we can drill down further into getting those tables out. But before I do that, how did I know that it was the .wiki table? That's probably the biggest barrier to actually being able to pull things out. How do I know that that's the right thing to do? Well, what you can do, and this is pretty sure most modern browsers allow you to do this, is if you right-click on a section of a website and go to the inspect button, yeah, that's right. This allows you to feel like a hacker and look at the back end of a web page. So if where's my little drag down button? There you are. This allows you to see all of the different things that make up this website. So you can see as I hover over a section, it highlights what that section is. So here's the table that we've pulled down with the class of wiki table. So what I've done is I've grabbed everything, I've grabbed the whole website and then I filtered it down to just things that are within that class wiki table. And if I minimize this one, you'll see there's another class wiki table, and that's the next one down, the next monarch. And so that's what we've grabbed next. So if we want to get something out of this, what we could do is we could have a look at, okay, let's say we wanted to get Alfred the Great's name. Well, if we go inspect on Alfred the Great, we can see that in these tables, there is a bold tag. So we could filter down to the B tag. There's also this A tag, which is usually a link tag. We've also got this href. So we could pull out this link, and we could also pull out the title here too. So let's go back to my code. So we've used the inspector tool. Before we drill down further, you can use a function here called HTML table. And what that will do is that will turn our table into something a little bit more readable. Instead of it looking like this, it's kind of similar to the HTML text function we used before, but for tables. And so we can actually visualize what these tables look like. But because we pulled down all of the different tables in there, this is what it looks like. So it's given us a list of tables. Now, unfortunately, although the data is sorted into little categories, as you can see here, it's a little bit messy because we've got like Charles, and then we've got a citation attached to it. And then we have his reign, I think, in that one. Portrait's NA because it's an image and it's not scraped that properly. So it's not done a fantastic job. So although that's now somewhat usable data, it kind of makes a big list of data frames and the data's a little bit messy. So what we could do is we could clean it up a little bit, bind them all use bind rows to turn all of those tables into a data frame. And then that will give us a data frame, but this is still going to be a fairly messy data frame because the data is a little bit messy because it's real. And it gives us a nicer looking data frame instead of a whole bunch of them. And then we can use the select tool to remove those extra leftover ones and kind of filter it down to just the main content. But again, you can see it's still messy. Like it's still got the citations in there. The birth stuff's not great. You could probably use things to clean that up. But another approach, instead of just slapping it all in there, we could drill down further and select out the specific things we want to get out. So up here, I showed you how to get like HTML elements using CSS. There's another approach you can use called XPath. And that basically allows you to specify like the structure of the document. So from HTML, go to body and then a div, and then inside that div, there'll be another div, and it's telling you exactly where to look. So using that, what we can do is we can say, I want this specific thing here. And if I right click on that, I can go copy full XPath. And that will give me this big long XPath here. Now, this is the specific XPath for that location. So if you get rid of these individual numbers, it's any XPath that follows that location. So if we run this, we now have a list of monarchs that have been pulled directly from that location. So that's going from, I don't know why the screen suddenly did that. Oh. Sorry, something weird happened on the front end of the screen here, but anyway, yeah, that will give us all of the monarchs. And then we can do the same thing for the URLs. And that will then give us all of our URLs that are attached to that particular location. But an issue with that is that because it's being so specific, like it's every single thing has to follow that same path. And if anything doesn't, because there's, I don't know, they've put a different tag in there, it won't work. So it can be too specific. I prefer doing this process where we say, look inside anything that's got the wiki table element and then the bold element. So for example, that looks like this, where it gives us everything inside of our tables that have that bold tag around it, because looking through our list of English monarchs, all of the names are inside a bold tag. So it makes it easier to narrow it down that way. And from there, we can then extract out our URLs a different way. So now we have our list of URLs. And we can also take out the titles that way. And so we've pulled from that document, we've got all of the different monarchs, all 59 of them, well, in this particular list, and then all of their individual links to their own Wikipedia pages. The advantage of having these links is we can then crawl on those websites. So we're using this page to go to other pages. And so what I've done here is I've set it up to pull just the one page for Alfred the Great out. So this will get out just it'll go to the page of Alfred the Great, which I might try to do now. Actually, there we go. So this will then allow us to then pull stuff directly for this particular monarch. And the reason I'm doing that is because this side table here is a little bit neater in the way that it's formatted compared to that big list on the list. So just comparing it, like just the way that name includes the name, the year range, all of these sorts of things just makes that data a little bit too messy to easily extract. Whereas I found that on their individual pages, you know, you've got a very clear reign, you've got a very clear predecessor, and so you can pull out all of this information a little bit more neatly. And so to do that, I basically said, get the info box vcard, which is this section here, and pull that out as a HTML table, and then that pulls out those things. So it means we can then easily find out what's his reign. There it is there. When and where were they born? There's the information there. Maybe I'm going too deep on this one now, but we can set up like a function to fetch it for a specific monarch. So it takes our list of URLs and then fetches out that particular monarch. So if we wanted the first monarch in our list, we can just say, give us monarch 1, and it gives us all the data for our first monarch. And if we put a filter on it, we can say filter it so you just tell us when he died, and then it gives us just that output there. So if we can extract out just when that one died, we can throw that into a loop on our list of URLs and kings and pull out all of them in one go. So if I've put together a for loop here, which I'm happy to go into detail if people have questions later, but I won't explain now. And that then gives us, wait, okay. So it's now scraping the date of death for 59 monarchs, and it's going to put it into this little file here for me. That's going to take a little bit of time to run. But once that's finished running, it'll then pop that out into a data frame, which we can then combine with our titles, our URLs, and the date of death. And we could do that for any other thing as well. So I just looked at one particular aspect, but we could pull out any other bit of data from their individual pages or anything like that. There we go. It's now loaded. So we've got the dates of death for all those different monarchs. And if we scrape all of that out now and put it all together, we'll call it scraped. Have a look at that. You know what, I'm going to use the view function instead. Have a look at that. We've now got the monarch, the URL, and then when they died. Now, you could use something like regular expression, which I won't go into detail here, to sort of pluck out things from that and clean that up further, but I'm pretty happy with that for now. Hopefully that gives you an idea of the way that you could use this to pull things from websites that you want to grab things from. Now, the very last part is me doing the same thing, but with Bing. So I discovered that Google is annoying to scrape, whereas Bing is actually pretty good to scrape. The problem is what the links that you click on a Google link goes to like a Google redirect page. So if you try and scrape things from it, it's really frustrating because it's inconsistent and it's always changing. Whereas I found with Bing, like I did a search here for our user groups. And if we use the inspect tool on this, I click the link. If we use the inspect tool on this, the structure is actually quite sensible. Like there's a H2 tag, it's a heading, and here's the link here, and it's very accessible. On Google, it's murky and annoying and frustrating, and it also rate limits you. If you do it too much, it will cut you out. Bing will probably do the same thing. If you try and scrape too much, they might get cranky at you and block your IP address. But this approach here, like I wasn't going to go into detail, but I am. This approach is really useful because it means you can scrape a whole bunch of data from a bunch of different websites. Another thing you could do is you can use the cite function to search on like a particular website. So if you uq.library, that's not our address, it's library.uq. I should know these things. If you do a search on that, then that will just give you things from the UQ library website so that you can scrape just things from UQ library using Bing to help you do that. So if you're looking for things from a particular website and you're finding that website's hard to navigate, sometimes using a search engine to crawl it for you can be a better approach. So the way I use that here is, again, pull in my search term, read the HTML of that first page, and then that gives us a big mess of stuff from that first page. It's not even worth looking at. But as I said, we've got that H2 element and the link element. So if I run that, that then gives us each of the different pages, all of the different links on the results. We could then pull out the headings, we could then pull out the links, and then bind all those together into one data frame that has all of the headings and all of the links from that front search page. I didn't think I'd be singing so many praises of Bing today, but here we are. Because of the way the URL is set up, you can also then turn that into a loop where you say, give me the, because you got page by page by page, you can say, give me the first page of results, the second page of results, and so on. And so this loop here, I can make it go through page 1 through 3 of results, run a loop on the things that we did above. And so that's currently searching on Bing for the UQ user groups, for our user groups, for the first page, second page, and third page, sticking them all into a data frame that then gives us the first 25 results from Bing. let's say you could use R to scrape data from specific websites, or use R to scrape it from a search engine like Bing. Cool, so that's the overview for today. Hopefully, that wasn't too much at the end there. I know I did skip through things quite quickly, but hopefully you can get a feel for both the basics and then how you can really ramp that up and do a lot more using things like loops to really power through collecting a bunch of data out of a website instead of having to manually do that kind of thing. Does anyone have any questions on rvest or any of the things that I've gone through quite quickly today? Comments in the chat. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. Anyone feel like they could use rvest at all for their work? Is this something that might be relevant to any of you?
Yeah, it is. I have one question. So we use the same code to extract data from web page, and then we can use the same code to extract these same information from different web pages. I'm thinking about documents, web documents, and then later compile. Is it possible to compile into a table?
As in the stuff that you've pulled from different web pages and put it all together. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what I think. That's what I was trying to show
So
with.
it's like we can make only one row from one document. Let's say.
You can structure it however you want. Realistically,
Okay,
you
yeah.
just pull it down and squish it up in different ways.
Okay.
Please send us the workbook in the chat. That is an extremely sensible request. Yes, of course. I'm ashamed that I didn't think of that at all, and especially that I didn't think about it before. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you. There you go. There's my code. I don't know if I edited it just then, but it all should be workable. There you go. If you want to play with it, there is the code that I made for this. Now, as you can tell, I ran into issues with this because of Google. That was my main plan, was to be like, let's scrape Google. And I spent way too long trying to make it work. And surprise, surprise, Bing came to the rescue at the very last moment. But yeah, so like the main way that you pull it down is using this read HTML. And once you've done that, it's all about cutting it up in the ways that's useful to you. So, you know, that run read HTML could go into one row, or you could split it into its own data frame and then connect it with other data frames. It's all about the way that you can then restructure it.
Yeah.
If you want to have the big thing that I recommend is go have a play with this. So maybe you don't need to scrape stuff from Wikipedia, but have a go at it. And maybe that will then make your brain realize, oh, I could actually use it to pull out some useful things from this website. And if you run into problems, see you next month. Cool. All right. So with that out of the way, I will throw back to the Hedge doc. And let's have a look at some of the questions that have come through. Okay, so maybe it's not just you, Jessica, who has things going weird with the Hedge doc. There we go. Okay, so first question is Andy, who joined very early today. Do you want to let us know what's happening with your packages?
Okay, yes. Let me share my screen if no, hang on, I can't share my screen, but yeah, I haven't touched RStudio in a very long time. And
You'll be able to share now.
I'd be able to share. Beautiful. Okay. So where's that? And I do not recall ever having to do this. Put it like, you know, this install package line there, but it seems like if I were to like just run this line, it would just bump a bunch of errors. And the errors are not consistent, it seems. And honestly, if I don't have to do this ever again, I'd be very grateful if this problem is gone. I've done this before, like yeah, don't worry about what I'm trying to do with my data. Right now, I just want to get past this whole installation thing. But basically, like I get errors like this, failed, loading failed. It ends up in this directory, I believe, is where all my packages go. Or no, my documents is where all of my packages end up, and it seems to be deleting the packages, I believe, is what it's doing as soon as it gets installed. It's got ggplot. I believe it's got dplyr and tidyverse. But I don't know what this is a warning. So it's not entirely an error, but if I were to run tidyverse here, this library tidyverse, yeah, it says no package tidyverse. And if I were to go to tools, install packages, tidyverse, it goes into that directory, install, and would it? No, it's just doing the same thing all over again. But there was another error message I wanted to show you, but it's not being consistent with the errors. Honestly, couldn't tell you more.
Does anyone have any thoughts on this one?
Uh, if not, I guess yeah, I guess I'll just uninstall the whole thing. This
Can
is
you run?
probably an old version of RStudio as well, maybe. Yeah, the
Location?
location username is student number, so that
Yeah, so my initial gut feeling is that there's an issue with the
directory name.
yeah, the library location. So can you type in .lib paths? So that's .lib just in the console, and then capital P. Yeah,
That one.
uh,
What do you want in the brackets? Or just
yeah,
that?
just run it. It should tell you what
Run
your
that?
library paths are. Okay, so
Yeah.
you have two library paths.
Okay.
So my assumption here is that they're being installed in one place and being read from another, maybe, and that's why we're getting weird errors.
I see. How do I change it so that only one of them gets used?
I feel like I've run into this before, and I can never remember every time
Mm.
how to do it. Let me.
Yeah, here we go. Here's someone's had this problem before. Right, that. What this person is suggesting is it's in the environment variables.
What version of R are you running?
This one is a 4.0 and this one's a 4.0.5. Accounts and then go to change my environment variable. And then there should be an rlibs user somewhere. And if there isn't, should I create that variable? Yeah,
Or
you okay, so I would say create an rlibs user is what this person's saying. And directory would be this one, hopefully. Oops.
So that may not be the one that you want to point it at. It might be the other one that you wanted to point it at.
Program files, you reckon this one's better?
Depends on where they're installing through to.
Hmm. So it looks like in this folder, it's already got a bunch of packages.
Okay, and the other one doesn't.
Let's check the other.
So it
Actually,
looks like
it's not
that's where they've
bad.
installed through to.
Hmm. Yeah, I think this one's got nothing.
Yeah, okay, so it's likely that maybe it's writing it to the other one
Yeah,
and
yeah,
trying to read it from that one.
yeah. So I'm sure this is the one I used before, and then at some point I tried to reinstall R because hey, there's a new update, and then now it's confused.
Yeah, it might be like it might actually be
That's
worth
news to me.
updating your version of R. Just
Yeah, it's
'cause-
like 4.3 now, isn't it?
yeah, so your version's
Okay.
about 3 years old now.
Okay, I'll point it to the 4.3, install
Yeah.
that,
What
and
I'll get you do is reinstall
yeah, I'll give that a go. Thanks for that. I
install
reckon
R,
that's definitely the issue though. Thanks so much.
and that might resolve other things at the same time if
Yeah,
you install R. And prevent future errors and things like that for dealing with bugs. So give that a crack. If that doesn't work, we'll hear from you towards the end.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
So yeah, I mean, you don't have to install the latest updates for R and RStudio every single time, but sometimes,
Mhm.
can start to cause issues. And that may not actually be the case here. So that may not be the lesson, but anyway, it is still
Yeah.
useful to give that a go. And then we can try and troubleshoot from there.
Yeah, beautiful. I'll let you know how we go.
Cool. All right, next up, we've got Pradeepa, who is trying to build a network using time series data. Do you want to talk about that one, Pradeepa? Do you want to share your screen as well? That's
Yeah,
helpful.
I did. I'll share. Okay, I'm using time series data to develop a network. So each of the nodes in the network would be a time series data. One of the challenges I had is when I try to develop the nodes, so they will take the date also as a node. And the next issue is this one. So they have developed the network, but I want not to represent variables. But here they have taken the values in that variable. So we can see the clusters. So these clusters are variables, but I don't want to see these numbers.
So you just want to turn the numbers off, basically?
Yeah, maybe. Instead of numbers, can I get the variable name? It's like a grouping.
I'm not familiar with the tsnet VG function.
Yeah.
If you're able to share your code at all, we might be able to just.
Yes, I have
Look at it.
the original codes.
Has anyone else made time series data before? We don't have as many people in today.
Yeah.
We don't have as big a brain pool to pull from.
I found it. I can share the
Oh, yeah,
code.
go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's that tsnet VG function that creates the graph that you just showed us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take it from the original over there.
Okay. If you scroll down, does that show the rest of the function? Nice big function here.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going down.
Okay, that's.
So that's the function. Can you show us how it works? Do you want to run the code so we
I
can see?
couldn't get the data for this one. That's why I got this graph few days ago. Now I can't repeat it.
Oh, so the graph that you shared, you're not able to create anymore?
No, maybe, yeah, I tried it today, but I didn't have time to run the model again. Yeah.
Okay. It's hard to know where those
Mhm.
things are coming from
Yeah.
without seeing it run, I guess.
Yes, yeah, maybe I'll come later. Yeah.
What else do we have up the top?
This is all about that function. We will create a distant function before
Oh,
this,
right.
and then the network is drawn using this distance matrix.
Yeah, if you can get it running again,
Yeah, I will try. Yeah.
then we can see
Yes.
what's creating those individual things.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you to while we're sitting here and do that.
Yeah, I will.
And then we'll throw back to you. Does that work
sure.
for you?
Yeah.
Cool. There was a question 3 that disappeared. Did the person who put their question there still have a question? Was that yours? Did you have?
Yeah, but I want to know something about how to use R and to deal with the plenty of data. But I don't have data right now.
Okay.
So maybe I can go back to and learn more about R.
What was the question that you had?
Is that how to deal with the plenty of data on Plum-Brady? Is that we have the growth, we have the data on growth and the food size, and how to combine them with R, and how to extract some information from R, and I have learned.
So you've got like a data file somewhere that you need to bring into R.
Yeah.
And then you want to extract things out of it.
But I don't have data right now.
Right. Do you know what format the data might be in?
Maybe CSV.
Oh, yeah, that's a very
Yeah.
straightforward thing to be able to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you know the basics of R? Or have you not used R at all? Do you know a little bit of R already?
I don't know. So can you give me the link or something like that?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll pitch the training that David, who is in the chat, will be running on Friday. So on the UQ library training page, we've got obviously the link to UQRUG. We've also got the intro to R series that we're running over the next couple of weeks. So
Oh yeah, okay.
on Friday, we've got a session that's all about manipulating data. So bringing data in, filtering it, selecting things, removing variables. So it feels like it's would very much be.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no. It's one of those things. It's like if it's a weird, wacky, wonderful question, we'll try and drill into it a little bit. But if it's, if it's
So I don't have that right now. So.
yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
As you can see, I had no reason to get data about the English monarchs, but now when I do want to scrape data from the web, I can. So
Okay.
it's still useful to learn on other things. What I'll do is I'll put a link to this in the chat. So if anyone wants to sign up, they can do so. Now, that is part 2 of our R series. So part 1 is like the very basic introduction to R where we go quite slow through it. That's part 2. I think you can still join in at part 2. It covers dplyr. I think if you know a little bit of coding or I think you can join in that stage. If you do want to watch the previous version, send us an email and David should be able to send through a copy of last week's recording.
Yeah, okay.
And that way you can watch last week's recording and then come along this week.
Okay. Thank you.
You can also go to our software training resources and find previous recordings of this. So some of these are now getting a little bit old. We need to make some new videos, but we've got all of the series available there.
Okay,
as well.
okay.
Means that you can't ask questions. No worries, Jessica, see you next time. Obviously you can't ask questions during those, but yeah, you're welcome to check that out. Cool.
Thank you.
I'm glad that I pushed on the question that you got rid of. All right, the next one we have is a question using ggpycrust. This is Erda's question. Do you want to talk a little bit more on that one?
Hi Nick. Yeah, so the package is like the package for analyzing and interpreting the result of PyCrust2 functional prediction. So PyCrust2 was like prediction of function from 16S marker sequences.
I'm annoyed that Jessica just left because that's the sort, like, I don't think this is exactly what she does, but this is sort of in the direction of what she does. So, oops. Does anyone have any experience doing phylogenetic analyses at all? No. I mean, Jessica's definitely still learning bits and pieces, but has been through the wars trying to learn bits and pieces about it. Using a different package, it's not doing PyCross2, but using selection tools, which is a different kind of like genomics analysis stuff. So it may not be even all that related, but it's in the same kind of ballpark, I guess. Do you want to share your screen or share your code in the
Okay, yeah. I'm going to share this link as well. Like I tried to follow this. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so this one, like I tried to do it myself, following the instruction from that link that I shared. But like every time I did, I always got the result. Yeah, so basically what I did here was just following the instruction from that link, and I always got the result like this when I did.
What I might get you to do is if you go to tools up in the top menu.
Yep.
Yep. And go to global options. What I'm going to get you to do is just turn on soft wrap. You go to code on the left-hand side of that menu up the top.
Yeah.
And then partway down that list of checkboxes, it says soft wrapped R source files. You tick that box.
This one?
Thank you.
No?
Next time. Yeah, if you tick that box.
Yeah.
And then click OK. What that's going to do is it's just going to mean that you don't have to scroll sideways
Okay.
through all the text, and it'll
Okay.
just appear on the one screen. So you can see what it's done is it's pushed things onto a line below so that it's still readable in the same window.
Okay.
That's the error there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's not an error. So that was. Right, so do you think that's because there's no statistically significant biomarkers, or do you think there should be and it's just not picking them up for some reason?
I think it should be, it's just like didn't pick it out for some reason. So that's why like I would like to ask if someone has been using this before, then I can like maybe I can discuss like what could be wrong with what I have done. Because I tried to Google like the errors that I got, and yeah, these are like some of the description they gave.
Can you show us trying to run the code? Like what happens when you do run the code?
I didn't run it today, so actually.
Or does it take a little bit to run?
Oh yeah, wait. Maybe I need to.
So did that give you an error when you run that one, or are we just not seeing that, or?
No, this one said abundance data not found. Maybe I haven't, oh wait, the abundance data I haven't. It takes time for this one, like. Takes time, and after it's finished, usually it gives this error.
So on the GG Pycross 2, the link that you gave to GitHub before, it's got like example data that you can run. Have you been able to run that?
Yeah, yeah, I tried the example.
And did that work?
It worked. For the example they gave with that data, it worked, but like when I used my data, it didn't work. Like it gave this error. Like, yeah, that's what I was trying to find out. Like, what's the problem with my data? Like,
So that's often a really good approach when you're getting an error that you can't resolve. See if you can run the one that they have built in and then gradually change it to being more like yours. But it sounds like this is, you're obviously swapping that data. So what makes your data different to the data that they have in the example? How did you go, Andy? Did that work? Sorry, I'm just Andy saying.
Oh, yes, it's kind of working, but I'm just, yeah, I don't have the same problem, but yeah, I don't want to overtake the whole session with problems. So, but yes, the packages are there, and I'm happy with that.
They're there and they're actually staying there this time?
Like if I were to, let's say, close, just I'm just gonna. How do I even know if my code's running, by the way? Like, is there like a red thing over there that says it's running?
So as you can see on the screen, if code's running, you can see there's like that little stop sign symbol.
Yeah. Okay, it's running. Yeah, it's okay. So I'm not gonna just close it and then restart it, but I'm just gonna assume that the packages are gonna stay there.
If not, feel free to reach out to us.
You have like a chat group somewhere
yes,
that I can message. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So in the email that I would have sent out before this, there's the link to the chat.
Yeah.
And I can put that link again into this chat.
Yep. Beautiful. Yep. Just send it real quick and I'll be off. Beautiful. Thank you very much, Nicholas. And I might talk to you there or see you next month.
Brilliant. See you next month.
See you.
Sorry about that, Oda, but I figured I wanted to see if that had worked for any. It sounds like it probably is, so that's a relief.
Yeah, so when I tried it, it works like this, and then when it's finished, it will give this
notice.
Yeah.
Right. So with the different variables that you've got there, I was just looking at the GitHub page. A lot of those variables are very similar. Like the pathway is KO and the XLab is pathway name. Are those that's okay that they're the same thing? It's just really the metadata and the group that need to change, and the DAA method.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I don't know what all those things do. Do we actually? It's going to run, and then you're going to get the error. So we're not necessarily going to learn anything by waiting for that to finish.
Yeah.
so your data is that abundance data that's got the 7,800 observations and 141 variables?
Yeah.
And what does the example data look like? Is it like a smaller version?
So it's the data from 140 farms. And then giving the function of the 16S marker sequences of the samples from those farms.
Could you click on one so we can have a look at what the data looks like? Like yeah. Oh, that's not gonna happen because
Yeah, it's still running.
it's still running.
Yeah.
Well, if that's just gonna come up with an error, then you could probably just click stop. There's not. So is that your data there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wait. KEGG abundance. Yeah, this one.
Right, and that's got the exact same data structure as the data on the website. As in the on the GitHub page, I was just looking at their raw data there, and it's a very similar structure to that.
Yeah.
So how did you structure your metadata file?
Like this.
And is that similar to the metadata built into the example?
I think so.
Yeah, we're not gonna be able to look at it until it's finished loading, obviously. So back in your code, what's the group variable that you've chosen?
So I tried different group. So like this one, I choose the total AB presence.
And that's something defined in the metadata, is that right?
Yeah. So and then I try different group. I try different group as again, but all of them like giving the same error. So I run like different groups, but yeah, they gave the same notice.
So on the GitHub page, it says if an error occurs, please use the following workflow. Did you follow that workflow as well?
Which one? Sorry.
So if you go to the GitHub page that you shared before, there's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
section halfway down that says if an error occurs with GG
Yeah.
use this workflow. Did you use
yeah.
that?
I did follow that one.
Yeah.
So that's why like there are two different files here. The first one I tried with the one without error that they gave in the example, and then the other one I tried with the solution they gave, like if error happened, and try this one. So I tried the other one as well.
And they both didn't work?
Yeah,
They both do the same thing.
yeah.
Could you show me the other one?
The other one is
Sorry to
this
interrupt.
one.
No. Okay. Is it okay if I open them?
Yeah, that's fine.
Just so people can find your accounts? I'm so sorry. I'm Nick's mortal enemy. I always try to make this life more difficult.
Everybody, this is Benny.
Sorry for interrupting, guys.
It's all right. Right, so that's the same as the if an error occurs.
Yeah,
Okay. Could you put the error code, that same error code that you're getting, could you put that into the H doc? Or just put it into the chat even? Yeah, that one.
this one.
Yeah. Either the chat or the H doc, if you
Okay.
put one, I'll copy it to the other. It's useful, like that might be the path to go down to for people Googling or looking for solutions to this one. So what happens when we search? So I assume you've already searched for that error
Yeah,
and not a heap of answers for you.
not really. Like mostly, it will reverse to this link, GitHub.
The person is basically just saying that it just means that there's no statistically significant difference in the pathway abundance between the two groups you're comparing.
Mm,
So rather than it being an error, it's more of a message, but and then they suggest using other differential abundance methods to see if there are different biomarkers with statistical significance. But that's a bit of an annoying response.
yeah. Mm,
So I'm just going to share that in the chat.
yeah.
That's that particular one.
Okay, Nick.
What I might recommend
Yeah.
is I'm going to share my screen if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'll stop sharing. Yeah.
So this is the link that you gave before to the GG PyCrust. It seems like it's I don't know how niche it is or how specific it is, but it feels moderately niche, or moderately specific, I guess. And so, you know, this is you already shared this, so I'm just going to go over this for everybody's purposes. This has got the details about the package.
Yeah.
This has got the breakdown of where everything is. This has got the installation process. This is the workflow, like the tutorial of how to actually use it.
Yeah.
And then this is that error that you were trying before. So this isn't anything new. But a useful thing, and this is the thing that I want people to pay attention to here, is that if you're having issues with a package, even if you just got it through CRAN or anything, generally there'll be a GitHub page, and usually it will have issues in here. So this is where I linked that previous thing from before. And if you go through to that, then you can see other people seeking help. Now, sometimes you go to this and there's no answers there and it's not helpful. But in this case, I went to the bottom, I went next, and this is where I got that link to, like, that pathway DAA is not what you've done, but this is the error that you got.
Okay.
And this is where someone seems to have, I don't know if it's a similar setup to you or what, but they get that same, there are no statistically significant biomarkers. And that's basically where they say, it means that there's no evidence of that. But if you feel like this should be in yours, then maybe there's something else going on with yours. And my suggestion, because I'm not an expert and I'm not going to pretend to be an amateur at what we're trying to do here. This is way outside of my area.
Yeah.
But a reassuring thing that we can see here is that it seems like the maintainer of this package is fairly responsive. So like you can see this 2 weeks ago, this user has an issue with the heat map, they've shared it, and they've responded very, very quickly. See, 13th of February, 12:55 a.m.
Okay.
They're doing very. That's okay. That's too fast. Settle down. Like that's 16 minutes later. They've given a not a short response. So this person seems to actually care about this stuff. So
Okay.
my suggestion, if you're feeling brave, is ask a question on here. Now, unfortunately, you never know, you might get a snarky reply of like, yeah, there's no significance there, but maybe they can help you. I think if you ask the question in a polite way and be like, hey, I'm not sure, can you help me with this? They might be able to point you in that direction. Because like there was one of maybe this is the one I was looking at just then where this is the one. They've just pasted all of their stuff, all of their errors, all of their details, probably too much in my opinion. And they've still responded. Thank you for providing your detail. However, I'm not sure what you're actually asking here. And then they ask for more details. They give another response with even more stuff in it. And then I get the feeling they're getting a little bit frustrated now. It's like, what are you trying to do? There are issues with your approach. But they're still being really constructive. So like this person's just throwing all this stuff at them and they're still being really constructive. So this person seems like they care and they're actually a really engaged maintainer of this product. So have a go. Like you can either, like if you don't have a GitHub account, you can create a GitHub account and it's fairly straightforward to then create a new issue.
Okay.
And put things in there and put the details describing the issue. You can attach things as well, so you can attach files.
Okay, yeah.
Now, if that feels too intimidating, which fair enough, it does, you can also potentially reach out to this person.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see, like non-publicly. You can tweet at them. I don't know. Yeah, so there's a variety of ways that you can get in contact with this person.
Okay.
They've got even more FAQs here as well. So yeah. And there we go. Oh, that's more about testing and developing. So maybe you could email them, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, also have a look through all these FAQs as well.
Yeah.
Maybe those things could be related to yours. Yeah, it's hard to tell, but there's a lot of different things that you could do here. I would just check through all the FAQs to make sure it's not something that's happening there.
Okay, yeah.
Have a look through all of the other issues raised in the issues here to see if there's anything relevant there. I don't think there is. I think we looked at those ones that are relevant.
Yeah.
And reach out to them, see if they're able to help you with things.
Okay.
Because they do seem to care about this product. So yeah,
Okay.
go through all of the resources on here, and if that doesn't get you there, post an issue. The worst case scenario is they say, sorry, it's not significant, but they might help you understand the package better. So that would be the way I go about it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Nick.
All right. Sorry, I couldn't give an answer,
worries.
but I definitely don't have one,
Thank
that's for
you.
sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, because that's a good opportunity to show those. I don't know. It's always good to find a community, like somewhere where someone's actively maintaining something. So yeah, that's a really good example of someone actively maintaining. So my answer there is look through the FAQ and issues on the GitHub. And if those don't help, raise an issue yourself. And if you're upfront and frank and understanding, you don't overload, they'll probably be able to help you, like at least point you in the right direction. Just be honest and upfront. Everyone's learning.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, I am. If you get any with that, let me know. Give us an update next month, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I
I'd love
will.
to hear it.
I will. Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
No worries. And if you do need further support with that, you can reach out to us again, either through the chat or through the training email address.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you.
No worries. We will come back to you, but let's have a look at what this one is here. So AC. I assume that's Claire. Trying to scrape some stuff from a website. Do you want to talk about this one? So, oh, you don't have a mic. Yeah, no worries. So I assume what you've done is you've taken the code that I shared into the chat and then punched in this website to then try and scrape this from that and have a go yourself. All right, what data do you want to try and, oh, okay. I was going to say, what data you want? This is a structured table. So I kind of maybe guess you're wanting to get this data out, probably. Well, my first approach would be to go to the inspect tab. And no need to panic. And all right, let's have a look. This page. Okay, so we have, this is all inside a table of the class athlete table. Looks like it's one big table. So that would be, I would go for the class table. Now, how do you actually specifically get a class out? So there's two types of, so what's happening here is that if you wanted to make, I don't know, make this table blue or something, you could add a style tag there and say, make the table blue. Obviously with proper syntax and coding, but you make the table blue and then the table is blue. And then maybe you also want to do this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. And you have this big line of code that sits inside of this table part here. And then you make another table and you want it to be structured exactly the same. So you copy that style and put it in there again. Hopefully you can see where this is inefficient because you're using the same style in different tables. So instead what you do is you use what is known as a cascading style sheet. So it's a CSS, and it's where you've got all of the styles into a separate document that then loads in. And so this class is saying, inside our cascading style sheet, get all the ones for the athlete table. And that way you don't have to have all of that stuff there. You've just got that one location, you change it there, and then bam, all your tables are now red. And so it's a much more efficient way of doing things. And that's useful for us because we can then say, give us all of the athlete tables. Now, the way to do that, and this is where I'm going to go to the rvest website here. Now, often tidyverse tutorials are really good. This one I find is a little bit limited. There's only a little bit here. But if we go to get started, it does dig into a bit more detail about the basics of HTML. This is where I got that stuff before, but I added a little bit more in there. It's got details about, tags and attributes and contents and things like that. Things about elements, attributes, reading things in, CSS selectors. Cool. So when we're looking at code before, that HTML element, we could put in P or H2 or something like that. If we wanted to get all of the things that have the class of title, we go class title. And so in this case, we want to get all of the things with class athlete table. And so instead of title, we put athlete table, but with a dot at the front. So this dot here says, hey, this is a class. It's not an element that we're selecting, it's a class. So that's what that dot is. Now, if you want to get all of a specific element that has a specific class, because sometimes classes can be shared across elements, you can say, give me all of the P elements, the paragraphs that are tagged with special. You can do it that way. The next kind of thing that you'll come across is an ID. So an ID is like a class, but there can only be one thing with that ID. So it's often used as like anchors in a document or core parts, something that you're only going to style the one time, but you still have it inside the CSS file. So we can use all of these to select what we want. So on our page here, if you scrape down this page using the read HTML, that should pull down this page, and it should put us then into the thing that we want it to do. You'd then use, obviously not Star Wars, maybe you call athletes, and then pipe that into the HTML elements, and then instead of section, you would put dot athlete dash table, and that should then pull down the whole table for you. And that'll be ugly looking and messy in the same way that, oh, I closed R. Don't like start menu. Oh, I closed R and I haven't actually loaded in any of the libraries I need. Okay. So yeah, if you run that, you'll get this kind of output once you load in that table. Wow, Bing just really threw a lot of things at me all at once. And then as I did in the example I showed, you can then drill down further to get the H2 elements within the table. So maybe we want to get, I don't know, all of the dates of birth. If I right click on that, go to inspect. This has got a class attached to it, so that class might be useful. It's also got a TD there, but so does this, so TD is not going to do it. These all have the same class, so probably have to get a little bit creative to pull it out, but you potentially, because this is a very neatly formed table, if you just grab the whole table and then throw it into a, like, if you get, you know, you get your HTML element, which is, what was it? Dot table underscore table or whatever it was. And then you pipe that into a HTML table function. That should actually format it quite nicely, because this looks like it's a pretty nicely formatted table, so it probably would accept that. But have a go. Let us know how it goes. Yeah, I'm keen to see what you do with it. I love that you just immediately started trying to grab some data. I'm really happy to hear that. So I'll let you play with that, Claire, and let us know what happens. Oh, you're very welcome. Something I'm considering enacting. So we'll come back to your question, but while it's in my brain before I forget, something I'm considering enacting is maybe like when we have an overview, maybe the month after we'll have a little competition and people can share or maybe not a competition, but people can then share ways that they've implemented the stuff that they learned in the last month. I'd love to see that. That would make me very happy. If others are keen on that, do let me know. Which reminds me, one thing that I'd like to ask is, what am I trying to do? Shiny. So I'll send this out again this week. But just a reminder that I do have the UQRUG survey that I try to send out every month, basically asking you, what do you want to see an overview of? And more importantly, are you interested in providing an overview? Because that's what I'd love to see. Do you want to give an overview of something? And if there's anything else you want to see, fill that out too. Yeah, because I'm really keen to give overviews that make sense to all of you and the things that people want to see. Otherwise, I'm going to pick a random package and run with it. That's what I kind of did this month. But yeah, I'll send that out in the email after today's session. But yeah, fill that out and let me know. Let me know what you want to see. I can put it in the chat now, so you can do that too. But this is a survey that I built last year using R. So I guess that brings us back to you, Pradeepa. Unless anyone else has any questions. How's yours going? Do you have a
Yeah, I again
workable-
estimated it. It's very messy.
sorry?
I'll share it. Shall I start from the beginning?
Sure.
So I get these libraries, RStudio, that's the main R package. And then I got the data here. And then I set the date variable, that's my first variable in the CSV file. So I set it as the date variable. Yeah, and there was two variables which dropped from the analysis. So I created a data subset after dropping these three variables. And then this is the first function to get the distance function. So I took it from the creator of this package, RStudio. So he has given all these functions.
Okay.
Yeah, then I got the distance function. It's like correlation coefficients between each time series. Can I show you the D matrix? I don't know, it's not appearing.
Looks like something's running, so if
Yeah,
you might have to hit stop.
Okay.
Okay, it didn't crash. I wonder if I did that.
Yeah,
Oh, I'll crank at you now. Yeah, so if you want to try doing that again.
yeah. Okay, these are the correlation coefficients.
Okay.
Then I got the ggplot, and this is the tsnetvg function. So I create a network using this function. They have used this D matrix. And then I just plot it. This is what I got. I just zoom it.
Okay.
I think you can see the bigger version. It's this one. It's something like this.
Yep.
So these clusters are like one variable. I don't know, for some reasons, they don't indicate it as a variable. They just get the values. But in the D matrix, we have variables and the coefficients.
So what are the numbers that are appearing there? What are those numbers?
Individual variable values. It's not
Uh,
even the correlation coefficients.
Can you show the data frame where those numbers are located?
Yes. Yes.
So where what are those numbers up there? Like, are those they're not the dates?
These are dates.
Oh yeah, but
V1.
the,
The
these
others,
blue numbers,
Yeah.
which
Blue numbers are these V3, V4 values. You get all these values instead of the variable.
so like I saw like the number 4, was it 4,000 or was it 441.01?
Yeah, I have around 81 variables. Yeah. It must have somewhere here.
Because they're integers. All of those numbers were integers.
Yeah,
But I guess some of those numbers are integers as well, aren't they?
all of them are numbered.
Oh, but I mean, like some
Except-
have decimal points,
Ah, yes.
whereas all of the ones in the graph didn't look like they had decimal points. All of these ones did have decimal points.
Oh, yes. So,
So where is it? What was it using to label? If you go to the other end of the,
table.
yeah. Those are integers. If you click up, so this isn't the mouse, but if you click up here and go to the very end of the column, so this is just column 51. And then go to the very last one, maybe, like I just don't know where it's,
Yeah.
I reckon it's this, those numbers feel about right.
Okay,
I don't know, I'm just,
so they have taken only one variable?
well, it looks like it's
Uh-huh.
labeling these with something.
Oh, okay, I understand. Maybe I have used the wrong function because they have two different functions, one to